Welcome back to Just Another Melt on Just Another Melting channel. Let's get right into this. So this chair right here, this broken stool, was what I used to improvise some parts for sand casting. I cut the legs and the brace off. The brace I used as the substitute sprue. It was the most tapered part, and even though it wasn't the greatest, it did work for what it was. The smaller piece right here that you're seeing was what I used to cast a surge trap or spin trap, and then I used the rest of the leg, cut it up with my miter saw, and tried to make myself an improvised ramming tool. So yeah, good F.O.B stuff. So honestly, I was trying to do like a very short explanation on casting for the beginning of this video, and it just wasn't working. So here's what I'm going to do. All right, go and look up on YouTube swdweeb. It's a guy named Perry. He's the founder of the PLM Foundry, which you can look up as well, where he sells casting stuff. He has an entire series on his YouTube channel called Learning to Cast Metal, right? Where he talks about everything from start to finish related to casting and sand. Go and look it up. The only thing I'm going to bring up right here is that if you go to his PLM Foundry website, and I'll put a link to that website in the description, you'll see he sells a sprue kit, which consists of a sprue, a runner, a gate, and the runner has an attached surge trap or spin trap, which is the ideal way, I guess, for casting, based on everything he says, and he talks about them in his videos. He 3D printed his stuff, right? And that's what he uses. I don't have a 3D printer, so you're gonna see how I F.O.B rig this to try to get it to work, and my jacked up flask that's not even, because I can't build anything square to save my life. But yeah, go check his channel out. I've mentioned him several times already in other videos. But if you're interested in learning the science behind pouring and some of this stuff, he's a great resource. I'm really thankful that he has stuff on YouTube. Check out his website. So that way, if you're getting ready to cast, you can buy some green sand. But he sells green sand, he sells a sprue kit, he'll sell parting compound, you know, all of this stuff that is required to get proper casting done at home when you're doing this as a hobby. So that being said, I hope you enjoy the video. So as a quick disclaimer, don't try anything you see me do in this video at home without proper supervision or safety protocols in place. I've done my absolute best to minimize the potential for damage and unsafe things happening. I have slowly built up my PPE over the time I've been melting, my personal protective equipment, everything from steel-toed boots to a leather apron, to a respirator and a face shield. Definitely take the proper safety precautions. I do what I can with my little F.O.B foundry here at home, but you know, my furnace could probably be a little bit better and so on, and it's going to get there. It's a slow process, but just be aware of that. There's a big danger when you're messing with heat and liquid molten metal. All right, let's talk about this. This is my first cast attempt, something I've been wanting to do since February when I first started. I've always wanted to pour some aluminum beskar bar ingots. All things considered, this went surprisingly well. I was just kind of flying off the cuff with what I could remember from Perry's videos, but it worked. Now there's a lot of room for improvement. You can't tell here, but my offset pouring basin is a curved bottom instead of flat because I scooped it out with a spoon. Because the sprue is too large, I wasn't able to keep it completely full, and I'm sure there was a little bit of air that got sucked down into the mold, but luckily it vented. Overall though, it worked. And I know what I need to improve on. I actually ordered a sprue kit from swdweeb from Perry, and it got here a few days ago. So I'll be attempting that for my next video and possibly doing a little bit better of an explanation regarding that. But I'm really excited. I can't believe this worked. Holy crap, I did it! So I did actually have to edit out several minutes of me screaming and hooting and hollering over the fact that I actually had a successful cast on my first attempt. You know, moderately successful. And I did have to also go and apologize to a couple of my neighbors that I woke up from their post-church naps. So what I am melting down in this melt are a bunch of extruded aluminum pieces that were given to me by a friend that I used to work with, Andy. He was kind enough to say, hey, you know, I'm getting rid of all this. I've cut some of it down so it'll fit inside of your vehicle. Why don't you come over and grab it? And there's a lot of it, quite a bit. So thank you for that, Andy. I know you're probably never going to see this or watch this, but on the off chance you do, I appreciate it, man. And before anybody comes and comments on this video and says, extruded aluminum is a bad alloy for casting, or soda cans are terrible for casting because alloys and dross and waste, and I'm too good, I don't melt soda cans anymore, you peon, because the low yield and the blah blah, please understand something, I don't really care about your opinion of what I am melting. See, I'm melting what I have available to me, as a lot of us noobs do, and maybe I only plan on casting like some props or an art project or something fun, nothing like a part going on a space shuttle or something going into the engine of a motorcycle. But I'll tell you what, if it's such a big deal to you, I'll open up a Patreon and you can send me some money so that way I can actually purchase proper scrap metal from the scrapyard near my house. See, that's the problem. You experienced and quote-unquote formerly professional melters on social media, you love swinging around the whole, I worked in a foundry for 35 years and used to teach classes about metallurgy and melting, so you better listen to me, like it's a giant wiener that makes you God's gift to melting and casting. They all claim that they're here to help, but helping by their definition means tearing somebody apart on everything from their first attempt at building a furnace with a limited budget to dropping a huge pile of steaming turds on the available metal they have to melt. Well, no thanks. I've done just fine up to this point without that kind of, quote, help. See, you can disrespect the dead guy. He's not around to defend himself. You can disrespect the Lithuanian company because it's the internet. Truth is, though, they've brought more people to wanting to melt at home, and they opened up the door of curiosity to the foundry industry than any of you, I'm a foundry veteran, now you thank me for my foundry service, wank stains ever did. But I get it. I'd be jealous and angry too if I were you and I based my entire identity on the whole I was in the foundry when Sauron made the One Ring, why doesn't nobody listen to me personality, and then somebody else came along and made my work actually interesting. But yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and cool down from this rant with a quench. I'm really sorry about the rant, but I'm just so tired of those guys. We get it. You don't need to comment that on every can melting post ever made. Now, as a reminder, I only ever do one quench on a couple of ingots in my videos. Everything else cools naturally because I guess that's what you're supposed to do to allow them to not have any major changes in the metal due to flash cooling. All right, so let's talk about this. The next day, I decided to try to cast another beskar ingot out of the 3D printed pattern. Unfortunately, I made a lot of mistakes. And the reason I made these mistakes is because I was so excited that I had actually done it right the first time that I kind of, again, just rushed through the process. And I don't want to say rushed like I just wasn't thinking. I was, but it wasn't as clear as it could have been. I didn't review my notes. I just kind of thought, all right, let's do it again. Because of that, some mistakes were made, nothing too dangerous, but it did cause some runoff or run out, I'm not sure what the term is, where it leaks out of the side. Now, I'm not sure if that was due to the amount of head pressure in the sprue going into the mold, I'm not sure what, but you'll see it right here. So I get it close to the offset pouring basin, I start my pour, try to keep the sprue filled as much as possible, which wasn't working because the sprue is huge, and then boom, here comes all the aluminum leaking out of the side. And as soon as I saw that and realized it was time for me to stop the pour into the sand mold, get it poured into the ingot molds that I had, the cast iron and the graphite ones that I got for my birthday, and then start making sure that the fire was put out and, you know, any danger was eliminated. Now, when you cast with petrobond, the smell that it puts out, especially if stuff is burning like the way it is now openly, is not good. It's probably toxic because it's oil bonded sand. So respirator is a must. I got a fan turned on to clear out the smoke, and I waited until the garage aired out for about 20 minutes. So yeah, safety first. All right, so smoke's cleared out. I'm getting ready to open this thing up. Yes, I'm wearing coveralls because they're dope. The original 90s romper, and it actually worked. Now here's what I found interesting. The little imperial crest on the ingot, on the beskar ingot, it seems to have come out a lot better when I had it facing up towards the cope. So it's almost like it was cast in the cope itself and not in the drag. Like the one I did the first time was in the drag, and the detail on it is not as fine as the one I did facing up in the cope. So that's an interesting thing. I know Perry has done a couple of things on that. And he's like, you guys called me out for casting it in the cope, but it worked better. For my birthday, I also got a bunch of wire wheels, flat discs, grinding discs, and tools like that. You can see I'm still doing the F.O.B rig thing with a clamp and my quote-unquote temporary workbench. I don't have a bench vise because I don't have a bench. Eventually I'm going to get there. Now, interesting thing, I never realized how much work it was to cut off all of the flashing and the attached, sprues and things like that. And another thing that I always used to wonder is, watching videos from everybody from like Big Stack to Art by Ad Rock, all these guys that I watch, I always used to say, why don't they polish and shine up every single one of the ingots they poured? Well, that's a pain in the butt. I didn't even do, I don't have anything to polish yet. Like I'm just using the flat disc on my angle grinder. And even that, like after doing the few ones that I did, I was just tired. Okay, that's a little more work than I thought. So here's the final haul. I've got 2 beskar ingots that were cast from aluminum and the other extra ingots. Not bad for my first casting experience overall. I think I'm going to celebrate by chugging me an ice cold bottle of root beer. So, that being said, thanks for joining me on Just Another Melt, right here on Just Another Melting channel. I hope you liked the video, and I hope you were entertained. I'm not going to say I hope you learned something, because I know you didn't. But I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you on the next video.